welcome back. So it's nearly the end of February and the weather has warmed up, which is excellent. And to take a break from the laser totties that I've kind of completely finished, well, I've done the slow and stop ends, and when I can be bothered before I put the next level above it, I will try to put the totties in the other locations as well. But I've decided to do a little bit of track laying. So this is going to be the kind of first bit really that starts from the hidden sidings out and allows me to go onto the main layout effectively. And I guess trying to put this in is going to be some of the most, well, not most complicated, but obviously I want the trains to move in and out smoothly without becoming, derailed. So I'm using radius 2, hoping everything will go around this radius 2. I've sort of drawn out some markings on the woodwork where the radius 2 track will fit, and now I've got the DCC concepts stuff that you can just see here that I am now going to glue. So I had to cut it in half using their kind of pre-marked centre line. Hopefully that's going to bend enough. I may have to score it a little bit more so I can get it to work, but I just need to glue up around this corner up to this point. Just here will be a set of points that go onto kind of the lower loop. If I can find a picture of the layout, I will put it on screen now. So that's the next little bit of this project really, is to have a go at gluing this stuff down. Obviously I'm going to put droppers onto each piece of track. Originally I was thinking of putting some flexi track in. I may still do flexi track just here. I might start off with a piece of set track and then allow that one kind of smooth curve to sit on there. That's the feeling. So I'm going to crack on and give it a go. Sunday morning now, so you can see that the track bed that I glued in is now glued in place. I've decided to use a bit of, well, that's actually stuck down because there was a little bit of glue there. I've decided to sort of cut some of the stuff out using that closed cell foam that I have available, and I'm going to actually use the Hornby flexi track because it's a little bit easier to bend. The concrete flexi track that I've got from Peco is actually quite a stiff one and probably okay for kind of radius 3 and 4 turns. The other thing that I've come across is that where you're doing like this S configuration, now I know this can cause, I guess, buffer lock. I'm hoping it won't, but one thing that I have noticed that when you've got these opposing angles, although I have got a single set tracker, the issue is that that's fine if you want to sort of start from there, but when you want to go around the other corner, so I've actually ordered another 21 and 24 inch set trackers, which I believe are around about radius 2 and radius 3s, so I can effectively start it in the sort of the throat of the point, put one there, and then put the other one here, so that I get that kind of curve nicely. Now that will be for, probably another time, but I'm going to try laying this piece of track just here. And you may have seen in the previous video that I purchased these DCC track cutters that you can sort of do them in this kind of orientation. They've got a flat blade, so this is going to be interesting because at the moment this was a piece of track that was used. It was ballasted. I've removed all the ballast. Well, pretty much all the ballast. All the ballast has been removed, but not 100%. But it is now flexible, and because it was used on a curve, the ends are not exactly straight. So this is going to be a really good opportunity now to actually give these a try. Put this in, use those track cutters to cut the ends and curve it round. I'm going to have to cut it here as well on this join because I want to be able to take this board away and work on it. Now, one of the big issues I had with this one was I laid it in one foul swoop, didn't really think about it, and trying to work under the baseboards, as you probably really well know, is hard work. It is hard work to do, and then when there's a lot of wiring, this is going to be a lot simpler because I've only got 2 sets of points here that I need to work on at the moment, and I'll be able to work on these fairly easily. Should be able to put the the controller kit underneath. So plan for today really is to lay this piece of FlexiTrack, glue it down, cut it here, and then I need to work on a couple of these similar devices. These are what we call a cameo and a relay board. So I've got one which is operational just here, but it's got 4 points. I don't think I need 4. So I'm just going to check the track plan. This is the actual plan just here. I've got 1, 2, 3, and I've got a single slip there, but I think it's a double slip, 5. Yeah, so actually I could probably modify this one to have a 5th servo on it, but I may build another one. The reason being is I want to stack them. They are designed to be stacked, so the plan is to actually stack it. So I have a number of these available. They really need to be the ones which have got the what I call the 16 megahertz chips on them, and I need to build a relay that can fit onto this one. So this one actually is a pretty useful one that I can use to do that. So I'm also hoping that if I can use a couple for servos, I'd really like to put a signal there. Now I'd really like to put one with a feather, if that is actually the right thing to do. But imagine having a signal here. So I guess the signal is more likely to be just about here. I can't have it there because that's where the crossbeam is, here with a feather showing off. And obviously the Cameo can support that, I believe, with an output. So I would like to put something there. I may not have cut this wide enough to accommodate a signal, but I guess I can always put a bit of foam, the scenery board in at some point, and mount a signal in there instead. So let me wire that one up, put that in place, use the cutters, hopefully they're going to work nice and well, and then I can sort out the electronics. So I'm going to use these track cutters and see how they work. I did buy some other ones actually, which I think were only spur cutters. So these have got a, I don't know if you can see the profile, flat edge. So I'm kind of hoping that I can cut these in a way that allows me to bend. So I've got quite a significant issue at the moment with that. So I can, it's kind of be like this. So I'm going to just try to measure that out. So it kind of goes to about here. Let's see how well these work. No marks on there. They say they should require no cleaning. Does look pretty good actually, that. Okay. So I'm going to have to remove a couple of these, I think, from the end, because the way, and I can always add them back in afterwards with a bit of glue. So I'll just find myself a knife. In fact, I can just use the Zerons, I think. So I'm going to put these in and then find my drilling position for the hole. So I've got insulators on the end of this set of points. The reason being is that I'm using DCC detection, as you probably saw in a previous video, from here onwards, so I can know when there's occupancy. So this is going to start on a brand new sort of district of power. I'm not running a cut-off at the moment, but I've got to wire up that power into it. So I'm just going to bend this, keep it into the marks. So if I just now use my black pen, I can put a little hole, mark that up. So I can drill a little hole in there, and that's where it will go. So let me just get my drill. So I'm going to use a 3.5mm bit. Hopefully that's going to be big enough. That's dead on the centre line, like so. Now I could do with a probably a portable hoover, but I don't have a portable hoover. I went off and bought a rather more powerful one. It's actually cheap. Oh, watch out for your ears. So I'm just bend this round. It's not in place. I've got a few holes, so what I do intend to do is use some screws to actually put this in. Now what's happening is that is being pulled out quite a bit. So when I actually put it into glue, I need to just make sure that bending is working and I'm not pulling out at the same time too much track. I'll use my track setter, try to push that in, hopefully with the points that should give me a curve. Now, interestingly, as you might be able to see, that curve is a slightly different angle to the set track that I had in there previously. I'm thinking of putting a couple of small screws in just to hold it in place beforehand, or just try to, yeah, so what I might do is I may just move that forward. I may just put one in here. Might try another one there. That seems like it broke in the sleeper. Problem is the wood I've got is it is incredibly hard. I think that might have broken that sleeper there. So for a testing perspective, I don't think that worked too badly actually. So I'm going to pull these up, put a bit of glue down, make a few holes. So I'm going to try using the DCC track cutters. So I've marked on here, when I can find them, the location that it's going to be staggered here and here. So they should be straight jaws, so I want to leave a straight edge on there. I'm going to try that one. That's done that side. So now I want to do the other. So I'm going to do it just beyond that mark, like so, and cut. They certainly do cut pretty well. So in theory, once bent, those ends should meet up against that line on the board. These have already got holes in this Hornby track, so I can use these to pin down, hopefully, as I do the remaining stuff. So it's time to put a bit of glue down, I think, and give it a shot. To be fair, you probably don't need too much copy decks actually down, because it's not like I want to, well, I do want it to stick, and I don't want to use, I don't really want to use the screws. I'm trying to get away from the whole kind of baseboard sound transference issue, which apparently is more down to the actual ballasting, gluing that to the board. What I'd really like to do is try to just limit the ballast to go to the ends of the shoulder. That would be really good. So I'm going to feed those droppers through that hole. Okay, so 3.5mm may not be big enough to take both of those through at the same time. I made a mistake. Oh no. So right, I've got both of those in, which is a bit of a result. It's going to find the hole. I'm just going to put my track center in just so I can turn it. Pull these down. These will actually help to hold it in place as well a little bit because of the way that they fit. So again, I can't quite see. Just one more for good luck, I think. So that is meant to be a radius 2 connection, and as you can see, it's not going to be exactly where I want it to be, but so obviously now it ends there, so I should be able to put some track onto that and be able to move this section out of the way when required in you know, doing the next set. So that's good. I can put probably that piece of track down and lay the track up to the points, and then I can start working on the electronics and then fitting everything underneath the board with it freely. So I'm going to give that a go next. So I've glued some of the track down, so I've got a set of points, and another set of points. I've got a little bit of a spacer piece of track because it's going to sit directly on top of here, so I've had to split those points a little bit, and everything is now glued down. It's still got a few pins in. So the next thing is to start looking at mounting the servos. So I have prepared one of these Merg servos. I mean, it's a servo. It's controlled by Merg. It's not a Merg servo. A small piece of piano wire that I've already put through the hole, put through the baseboard, marked and cut. And I have centered the servo, and I've kind of put it in place. I've already sort of pre-drilled the holes. So on the reverse, I basically popped it through, marked up the holes and lined it, put the holes in. So I made sure that the points were kind of central. The servo has been kind of put in its midpoint of its throw left and right. So in theory, I should be able to put that in now, screw it in place, and one should be done. And it'd be a hell of a lot easier than the other ones I did for the hidden sidings. So I'm going to give that a go now. So I'm just going to screw these in briefly, just so that they've got something to grip and it's not so difficult to screw into in a second. So that's good. So I've got my lines marked out, and I've got a hole down there. Just got to make sure I turn it right around. And I'm going to pop it in. Just going to turn it up the other way so I can pop it through the actual hole. So it's just in. It's in there, and away you go. So it should be in the middle. Oops, I've lost it. That first time did it really well. So it's now in place. I've just got to hold that in there like so. This is a lot easier than doing it underneath. I've put a little bit of a line, and I'm kind of hoping that I've screwed that okay. Now I've got a centre line I've put in like so. I'm just going to just see if I can keep that gripped. It's not quite in the centre. I'm just going to move that down a touch, and now I'm going to see if I can screw these in. Annoyingly, the holes are not 100% in the right spot, but let's just put one in and see how that looks. Probably just needs to come a touch across like that. Let's just see, I've pushed that down a bit. It needs to come up a bit actually. It needs to come that way. That's the maximum it will go that way. That's more or less centre. So I'm going to put the other screw in and tighten them up. I tell you, that's so much easier than having to do it underneath the board. So just screw it down tight so it's nicely gripping, and hopefully with a bit of gusting and following wind, this is now in the centre of those two tracks. So that looks a pretty good result. I have realised here though, actually, you see the points, they might have just popped out a bit, that they are ever so close to coming out. So I'm going to have to loosen those up and see if I can push the point motor towards the front. So you may not have been able to see it, I'm now using a macro lens, but those little legs there were pulled almost out, so they were almost disconnected. And I've had a problem with those previously where they actually come out of the connections and cause a problem. But that one is definitely in. That one is a bit harder to see. I'm just trying to get it to focus. Yeah, you can see that that one is also in place. So it's those little bits there which obviously hold the blades in place and also help provide power continuity across those kind of connections. So that was what I was concerned about, and you might not have been able to see it in the previous bit of footage that I did from a little bit further away, because it wasn't quite as well zoomed in as it can be with this macro lens. So that now seems to be in place, which is fantastic. So that's one of the 2 points. I now need to work on this one just here. So I'm going to do that the same thing. I'm going to turn it over, mark it up best I can, and hopefully I will have 2 servo control points, which would be awesome. Well, the servos will be there. There's just then putting everything else in place to make it all work. So I'm just going to show you a little bit what I did previously. Whoops. Here it is. Here's the servo. I've already pre-mounted it, pre-centered. I've got a little bit of, I think it's 1mm piano wire. I need to pop it into it. I've sort of drilled a hole, which actually reminds me I do need to make it a touch deeper, because if it's too shallow, although the piano wire does go in, it doesn't get held very securely. And I'm still going to use a bit of super glue in there as well, just to double that up. So I'm going to stick that in right now. So that's slightly further in than it was before. I've got my piano wire, got a bit of paper. I'm going to stick a bit of super glue on there. Like so. And I'm going to roll a little bit of the end into this so I can get a bit of super glue on the end. And I'm simply going to put it into the hole that I've made and push it in as far as it can go, like so. So that is now centered and it's kind of ready to work. Well, ready to work, it needs to be trimmed. So the next thing I want to do, I'm going to stick it into the board through the baseboard, the foam and also the point. I'm going to mark it with a permanent marker, rather handy Sharpie, and I'm going to use my cutting disc to cut that to the right length. And I might make it just a touch longer than the other one, because although that is perfectly flat, I mean it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect, but I'm a bit too nervous to do that again. So let's just go and do the same activities with that. So I'm hoping this won't be too laborious. I've got it orientated the right way around. I should be able to find the hole and push it through. Like so. So there it is. I'm going to use a little plastic clip briefly just to hold it in place, so that I've now got some free hands that I can use for marking. So I'm going to turn it the other way. And again, I just need to check that those are pushed in, which they're not at the moment, so I just need to adjust that, which they are. And now I can rotate this around in the orientation that I need it to be. Now straight away I've come up with a problem. There's a bit of an overhang just here, so I'm going to have to make a small adjustment. I could rotate around my pinion so that it doesn't have such a problem. So I'm just going to do that now. unscrew a couple of things, and that can work quite happily. So I think it's one of those things which is plan and plan, or measure and cut. And I'm just on the limits of this board when this is positioned into the certain position. So I'm just going to mark up now the length of the piano wire. So I've got something to cut to, and then I'm going to just try to see if I can actually get this to mark up. So I've got to try to make sure it's square, which is pretty close to where it is now. Now it's just aligned, hopefully it's aligned, and then move the points up and down to the central position, which they are, and I'm hoping that everything is looking. So I'm trying to get this to be 90 degrees to the track to make sure that it is kind of perfectly upright, so there's no kind of drag on it, and also trying to just make sure that it sits itself in the middle of those two tracks, which is what it's doing at the moment. So I'm just going to use the pen and mark a line, and I'm going to mark a hole and a hole, and then I should be able to drill the pilot holes for that, and then cut it all out and fix it into place. So I've kind of got it in place. I'm just going to put my super dinky screw in. I'll put my slightly longer brass screw in that I've got. So I'll pop one of these in. Put that in there. I've got a tiny little one, hopefully it's not going to pop through the board, and hopefully I can then just make some fine tune adjustments to it. So hopefully it's in place and it's fairly close to center. So if I just push down a touch on this, it is about the right spot. This is probably not the safest way of tightening up this, but again, it's looking all right. These two connections just here are actually okay. I pushed those in just beforehand. This is a nice short screw, so hopefully it's just going to fit in there like so, which it miraculously has done. So hopefully if I put this roundabout where it's going to go, which is here, you can just about see, hopefully. So underneath across there I've got one and the other. There will be a double slip coming off of here, another piece of wood, so I need to add another couple of servos here. I hope to put my electronics about here, the cameo and the relay, and possibly another one next to it for detection purposes for the Hall effects. But yeah, but this is now roughly in place. I should be able to, as long as nothing is trapped, slide that back, apart from there are some wires connected, and we should see, if I was to actually put that in, that everything is now kind of in place. So I'm not going to put it in yet because I need to do all the other electronics, but I have laid something other than sidings. So I'm going to leave the video here because I think the videos get too long otherwise, and it gets a little bit boring to watch. So I'm going to do another video on the electronics, the cameos that I'm going to use for switching the points and the frogs and those kind of things. And part of it is that I can remember myself what I have done. It's actually a very good tool documenting what I'm doing. But if you have got to the end of this video, thank you very much. Throughout the video you probably would have seen links coming up for my private Facebook group, so please do find me out. That's all in the show more notes below. I've also got an Instagram called Rowan Town MR, so go and search that out. That would be great if you want to join that. And I have got a Twitter account as well now. I'm going all out on social media, which I don't normally do. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe. I think it's over here, the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified by YouTube every time that I post any future videos. My hair is incredibly long. We are still in COVID and I cannot wait to get a haircut. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. See you again soon. Goodbye from me. For now, stay safe.